The Newfoundland Dockyard has been a part of the scene here in St. John's for many years, and most people have no idea in the world about what happens there or what it's like. Raoul Anderson and I have been interested in the Newfoundland Dockyard for many years, and now we're going to have an opportunity to visit some of the workers here and get to know them firsthand, get some understanding about the nature of their work and the importance of what they're doing here. This is where you started when you were just a young fellow working here in the carpentry shop, was it, years ago?
Yes, I came here in August 1942. Served my apprenticeship as a shipwright.
I see.
And a shipwright then, in those days, we had something like 70 people working in this shop alone. Well, this shop now included upstairs too. But I might say that when I came here first, that this was a brand new building, and they were just getting the stairs and that to go upstairs then. We were using out on back where they got for lunchroom. Now we're using that for carpenter shop. But when I came here, it was the first opening of this shop, so that'd be 1942. This building is new then.
I see.
And over the years, I mean, you were asking about the boiler shop, but over the years, I think we had something like 70 people. I know I was on a seniority roster with about 60 or 70 people in this shop alone, and I think at the time the boiler shop might have had 20 or 30.
So what marked kind of the disappearance of carpenters and shipwrights?
I think what happened was the schooners disappeared, and there's some pictures around that I can show you that there's 5 and 6 schooners on dock at the one time. In addition to that, there'd be schooners all around here tied up, and our shipwrights were, I tell you, they were as good as you get anywhere, you know. And the ship would come in here, new keels, new planking, caulking. I think at one time we had 16 or 20 caulkers here now, and I suppose a lot of people today wouldn't even know what a caulker was.
That's right.
But he was the man who caulked the plank of a ship. And then
keep it nice and tight.
That's right. So then in the latter years of the war, they started building the Clarenville boats. And the Clarenville boats were launched in Clarenville, and once they went off the dock in Clarenville, they couldn't go back there again. So that we used to service them. And there was 10 of them, and they became into service in Newfoundland Railway, and later the CN. Yes. And our people worked on them all the time, and they came under the railway, like I say, so they became what we call our captive fleet. And the island, of course, then in those days, on the back of this place here, the freight boats used to leave and go north, and with nothing to see 100 cars or horses or anything out here 50 years ago, lining up to get their freight aboard the boat on a given morning.
I see. When did you get into diving? Was that a part of the carpenter's work?
Yeah, the shipwrights always looked after the diving, and around 1950, I think it was, they asked me if I'd go diving, and I might say the diving then was hard head diving. It wasn't like it is today.
So you used to put on heavy weights and...
we had we put on a diving suit that we used to wear a belt that the belt was 64 pounds, I think, in the belt.
Just the belt?
The belt alone, yeah. And then we had a pair of boots that were 16 pounds each. And the helmet itself, I guess, the helmet and hose, that would weigh another approximately close to 100 pounds or more. When I went diving, the old gent was here retired after, I think he was 60, 64, 65. And he was diving right up to the time that he retired. So I took it over then, and I was at it for about 25 years. And then they got into the skin diving, and I think everybody, you know, it got to a point where if a boat went ashore, the Mountie probably down in Capacity to have a look at it, or the school teacher up north to have a look at it. So it got to the point where our diving as such went out.
Fred, where are we now in the dockyard? What was this originally?
This was originally the locomotive shop.
I see. That's where these narrow gauge tracks here?
That's right, yeah. The engines for the Newfoundland Railway and Canadian National, as it came to be known later, used to come in here to be refurnished, refitted, serviced, and then there's up to 6 and 7 diesel engines here at one time working on them, you know.
And what have they converted this to now? How is this being used?
This has been taken over by the Dockyard now, and they're going to use it for a plate shop, for the boiler shop. Overhead you'll see 2 cranes.
Right.
The largest one of those is, I think, takes up about 85 ton. So it's quite capable of lifting heavy plate or anything that you manufacture in here and take it out. And you notice as we were coming in, they had some large doors made there.
Right.
And those large doors now, they're going to be what they'll bring the crane up, bring the plate in out of those large doors, and take it out through the when they get the paddock finished, bring it out to the yard, and down the dock or wherever they got to go. It's sinker lift or wherever they're bringing it.
Years ago, that's what it was. The boilermaker was the fellow who, it wasn't a welder, it was the fellow who put it, mostly with the ships and the boilers, they done all the rivets, put it all together, and that's mostly what it was. Done all the plate work, you know, shaped it, lined it, put it out, and lined it up.
So if you had to replace a piece of sheet metal on the outside of a ship?
That's sheet metal, it's
steel. Heavy steel.
Yeah.
Well,
Sheet metal's
You got to be very
yeah.
careful.
How heavy is this steel now? Is this an inch thick? Or?
Oh, where we deal with is anything above 1/8 of an inch, up to whatever you want, 6 inches, 5 inches, 3 inches, but mostly here is ½ inch, 5/8, 3/4 inch, around that.
So you have to shape this to fit an existing piece.
Right on, so, yeah.
Anything below that will be sheet metal work, right?
Anything below that sheet metal work, yeah.
Below 1/8.
Yeah.
Is it very difficult to learn the Boilermaker's trade? Is this something you can just go to school and learn?
No, not too many teach it really. We're probably the last ones that has it. Mostly now it's gone into welding.
I see.
Boilermaker one time was no welding. Now today, probably 60 or 70% of our trade is welding.
So you used to drill holes in the plates and then put rivets in them.
Right, yeah.
And that technology has vanished.
Vanishing now, it's a dead art.
How many Boilermakers would work here now when things were going full steam?
Probably 80 to 100.
80 to 100 men in
Just
this,
in just one trade. Yeah.
just in this one trade. And how many men have you got working here now?
Today we got 15.
15. Next week you may have
2 or 3.
There could well be, you know, that we have peaked here at 500
Oh yeah.
in the area setup.
yes.
550, I think, was about peak. That would be around 80, 86 around
That's
there.
the whole dockyard.
Yeah, that's right, the whole dockyard. Yeah. But the Boilermakers, you know, the strange thing about it, years ago, when I came in, I served my time as apprentice over in the carpenter shop. I think at that time we had about 70 in the carpenter shop and they had about 20 in the boiler shop because we had more wooden ships. You know, the Claremont boats ran to go and one thing and another. But now the difference today is reversed. When most of the work is steel.
We're in the machine shop now, and this is Ken Noseworthy, who's a machinist. Can you tell us a little bit about this work, Ken?
This is basically where we make the parts where you generally can't get them outside. And if you can get them outside cheaper, well, you usually buy them, but mainly we make precision gear for whatever you need, anything that's on the go.
So do you frequently have a part that you need to replace in a vessel that can't be bought, an old ship, and you would make something like that?
Well, every ship that comes in got something different that you just can't pick up because it's outdated or whatever else, and we just make it to fit.
Your bigger lathes over here, your big lathe where you use for your shaft, tail shaft, that's over on the end of the...
That's over there underneath them guys that are working underneath the ductwork.
Is that the Alec Nosery's lathe?
That's Alec Nosery's lathe, yeah.
That's all the lathes here down to the ears, people that were here for a good many years.
Even I'm only here 20 years, and I can name every machine, every man that was on them.
Yeah.
I can tell you, it was his. Nobody else touched it.
That was their lathe and their work, you see, and that's
Today we have to do it all.
This is an old blacksmith's forge, is it, Fred?
This is the last of about 8 or 10 that was in this shop.
Yeah,
When I came to work in the dockyard, there was about 17 or 8, about 8 or 10 of them, I guess, all around, and they were open. And the stack used to go out to the side of the building, and there'd be smoke coming all out through here. And the Boilermakers used to take their frame, put it in the heat, get it good and hot, and then they'd bring it over here where the camera is, on this table over here.
Yeah.
And they'd bend it to the shape of a mold that was brought up out the dock. This was done in a frame of a ship. If the ship hit a rock and there was damage to the frame and to the hull, they'd burn it all out, they'd rip it out, and then they'd make a pattern of what was needed to replace it. Some of them maybe 6 feet, 8 feet, and they go, you know, it depends on how much damage was done. Then they get the steel I-beam, and they bring it and put it in the heat here, and those Boilermakers then would knock it in shape, make it in shape of the wooden mold, bring it down and weld it in, put it back in the...
How many men would work at one forge? Would it be one man?
One man and a helper.
One man and a helper.
Yeah.
So you had 10 forges here, and they were
Yeah,
all...
there was 8 or 10 different. But see, that was before the, you know, that was almost before. I guess the welding even before. That was riveting, mostly riveting. See, that those plates wouldn't be the they'd be bored out, and the frames would be bored out, and they'd knock them in place with the hammer and make it shape.
If you had a job now that required a blacksmith, would you find one here in town?
Yeah, I think there's still a few people here that serve their time as blacksmiths.
Yeah.
I may be getting down to the end of them now, but the blacksmiths now and the Boilermakers, a few years ago they amalgamated, I think, their seniority here. I believe they're all on the same seniority list.
There was a point in time when they were building this overpass in back of the dockyard, and they were talking at that time of twinning the dockyard and reduplicating it, enlarging the dockyard instead of putting the overpass on. Do you think it would have been better if they had gone ahead with this twinning operation?
No, I don't. I think they made the right decision in the sinker lift, to be honest with you, because what was happening, we get a lot of small shipping, and you put them on the big dock, and depending on what work had to be done on, once they went on the dock, they were there till they were all finished, or you had to flood up and take her off.
Yeah.
But now with the sinker lift out here, you could take a small boat up, put it over in the corner. If she wanted to stay there for 6 months, she was out the way she could stay there, you know. So there's no problem with it that way. I can tell you a little bit about the lift. The lift. They started to work on the lift in 1981, and it was completed in 1983. An official opening was here in October of '83 by Crosby and.
Well, that's who you were and Andrew Crosby.
That's right.
That's
right. That's right. I was here on behalf.
Peckford was.
And Leclerc from CN, Peckford from the provincial government, and Crosby was the federal representative. And they had a podium here, and they brought on a ship, and it was the first one. Well, it wasn't actually the first one because we had tried it a few days before that just to make sure everything was all right. Put another one up and had it. But this one came on, and but when this came on, it was decided that putting boats on the dock was a costly procedure. Not only that, if a ship went on dock and she happened to be a little bit of work on her, and then another one found out to be more work on her, then eventually she had to wait till the other one was finished. Rather than they had to go to the costly process of letting one off and put her back on again. Right. So in the 70s, a man here came here from England. He was an Englishman, rather. He came from Marine Atlantic, and he was the first one to try and see if he could get a sinker lift for Newfoundland. And he met with quite a deal of opposition from a lot of people, including some of the unions. And I think he gave it up in dismay after a while. But after he left Newfoundland, there was a man sent down here by the name of Albert Burgess, who was pretty persistent, and insisted that we'd keep on going. And he, in turn, received great cooperation from the unions. And it eventually ended up that we're successful in getting this.
Now that you're retired, looking back, what do you think about the future of the dockyard here?
Well, I was down here about a month ago, and I didn't think very much of it. But when I look at it today, I see the money they're spending out on the dock floor and the upstairs, and lunchrooms, and what they're doing. I say, well, someone must see something in the future, you know, because they wouldn't be going to this, or I don't imagine they'd be going to this expense and what they're doing just to close her down. It looks sad at this. But in the meantime, before you start scaring up and doing a lot of work, you got to spend a lot of money to get things ready, and it looks like they're on that track now to get something moving, you know.
Dockyard employees are aware of a remarkable change that has taken place during the course of the history of this dockyard. They have moved from a relatively reliable, secure kind of employment, servicing a captive fleet of coastal vessels, to the present situation of highly competitive and uncertain employment. The yard over the years has developed a highly skilled labor force. It lives in a state of uncertainty, however, in respect to the yard's future development. We discussed the future alternatives for policy with the yard management, and this is what we learned.
We are strategically located, obviously, for many things. First of all, for ship repair. Not only the local ship repair, which it's been for years and years and years, the traditional business of the dockyard. Also, we are not too far off from many routes navigation routes from Europe towards North America. And this is one area we would like to move into, capitalize. Philosophically, we feel also that within our capacity of ship lifting capacity and berthing capacity, we could get into a smaller vessels construction, shipbuilding, which was never tried before, to the best of my understanding, in the dockyard. But it has to be done as shipbuilding with a difference on value added. If you look on the context of North America or Canada or Newfoundland, here in St. John's we have the best research marine facilities in the world. The NRC, National Research Council Marine Hydrodynamics facility is definitely the best in the world, is #1 in the world. It's tremendous. The Marine Institute has presently 2, and then shortly will be added one more, simulators which can be used for training for students. It also is used from the industry as a design tool. Those simulators, I don't know if they are the best in the world, but certainly it must be on the top 5 or 10 in the world. We have Sea Corps for ice research. We have Memorial University with an excellent naval architecture course. The Marine Institute itself has marine engineering and naval architecture training for technologists. And again, the training is excellent. So why can't we as Newfoundlanders, Canadians, or North Americans cannot capitalize on those research facilities, which, by the way, to the best of my understanding, they are utilized 75% by foreigners, do what the Norwegians do, the Germans do, the Dutch do, the Swedes do, which is design and build value-added vessels.
Where does the yard fit into the landscape of Canadian and wider North American international shipyards and dockyards?
There's always new problems arising in the marine industry, all like any other industry, yes, every day. So basically it's to bring the researchers, the academia, with the practical people and the needs of the end user together, mm-hmm, to create something new which solves a certain or responds to a certain need of the end user. We're talking about pollution. There's vessels which can go out and monitor or control or clean up pollution. Underwater facilities can be created. There was at one time talked about taking advantage of the rolling of the waves to create electricity. I can keep on going, and we can become limited only by our imagination.
Union President Alan Locke shares some of the same visions of management. There have been points of disagreements in the past, but both management and union are trying to work together to save the dockyard. Many of the union's problems seem to be more with government's attempts at the privatization of the dockyard and an unwillingness to explore and build on the dockyard's potential.
Well, the most immediate thing that comes to mind is the sale of the Newfoundland dockyard, the privatization. I really think that was the lowest ebb that the Newfoundland dockyard was ever at, because if you had to see the press, the articles that was in the press about the Newfoundland dockyard when it was sold to Marine Atlantic, I mean, it'd make you cringe.
Here you had the management, the custodians of Marine Atlantic, Mr. Rupert Tingley and all the others, and they're saying best thing that ever happened to Newfoundland Dockyard was come Marine Atlantic. He said the Newfoundland Dockyard has been here now 109 years, and it will be here for another 109 years, because here you are with a shipping company, our geographical location. Anyway, they were praising all this up. Oh yes, and here the minute we weren't with Marine Atlantic 2 years, and they were trying to sell us. And as I told you earlier, here they were talking about Newfoundland Dockyard being bankrupt, and there were bad mountains in the press, and I mean, they really played super hardball negotiations. They really, it's like I told John Crosby, they were treating us as the illegitimate child of Marine Atlantic. I mean, they were giving it to us gung-ho. And I said, you know, we took out an ag campaign, and I mean, we played just as hardball back, because I mean, they were looking to castrate our agreements. I mean, they just wanted to throw them into the 4 winds and the 7 seas. So we said, well, we got to either now make the choice. So we played hard. I mean, we took on a press war with them. I mean, we put ads in the paper. We told them of the things they promised us. We told them about what they said in the past. And we told them how they declared us bankrupt. We went on TV and radio. I mean, we went eyeball to eyeball with them. And I wasn't going to roll over and play dead. And the other thing is, I did have the support of the workers at the yard. I made numerous phone calls to Crosby. I made numerous calls to the Minister of Transport. I got letter campaigns and to go to write letters. I suppose you got 200 or 300. And we educated the people on how to get involved. If you want to save your life in regards to a job, you know, you work with a company for 25, you work for a company 40 years. And then they come along and say, no, you're with Marine Atlantic now. And, you know, forget the previous 40 years' work. You lost money this year and last year. We're going to close it, sell it. I mean, there's people down there, I mean, they're really nervous wrecks. And I thought that was downright disgusting. I called it brinksmanship with the government. I told them that they were playing games with the men. Anyway, I wrote a nice lengthy letter off, and I had a press release. And anyway, after around a year and a half, they called us in and they signed up an agreement. During that year, we never took any job action. That's the one thing we didn't do, is because we figured if we went on strike, they were going to close the gate and close it for good.
While there have been conflicts between union and management, Alan Locke has expressed a willingness to work with management for their mutual benefit. Both sides have proven they can work together, but if the dockyard is going to survive, they have to expand their market. For most of its 109 years, the dockyard has been defined as a service facility, designated to maintain various local fleets and the Newfoundland Railway, with a goal of service rather than profit. Even with a shrinking market, service continues to be a priority. Marine technology and nautical requirements demand more aggressive marketing, and unless the dockyard changes its policies, workers will continue to face an uncertain future.